What up? Watching Relic in the house. Yeah. Okay, so we're reviewing Phil. This MOC was quite... He went on quite a journey. Let's just put it that way. Looking back on the original version that I made for this guy, I just don't know what I was thinking. It was so just amateurish and just not good. It was just ridiculous, the regression on that build. But, my goodness, this new version, I just totally dig it. I think it looks great, and I think it totally holds up to some of my best MOCs. And rather than going over the changes separately, I'll just go over them as we go through the MOC and look at the build in general. As far as kind of inspirations and general concepts on this MOC was one really inspired by colors. I had some tan, that's always cool to use. I had some old brown and also the new darker brown, kind of the reddish brown I think it's called. Wanted to use those, but the main color that I was really excited to use was dark tan. Now, I got some dark tan from Pohatu Uniter. I also got some from the LEGO Star Wars Resistance X-Wing, which is a great set, and I did not dismantle the actual X-Wing because it is super cool, but what I did dismantle was the little bit of Jakku desert terrain that set comes with, and it came with a few neat dark tan parts. Probably the coolest little parts in dark tan from that bit of terrain were some little 1x1 slopes, and that actually leads perfectly into where I want to start, as always, with the feet. I frickin' love the foot design for Phil. I think these feet just look so good, and gosh, I don't even think I've done custom feet for any other MOCs. I can't think of a single one on the channel right now that I've actually made custom feet for, and so it was a little daring because I have done them in the past, but they usually don't work out well. In this case, though, I think these feet look awesome. They're just shaped really, really well. You can pretty much tell how they're built, especially, let me just remove some of these little lift arms on the side, and oh dear, he's collapsing all over my hand, and his head's about to fall off. Okay, we saved it. Yeah, there you go. You can see exactly how that is done. Just a couple little Technic pieces, and then I love the little cheese slope on the end. It just perfectly works as like a little toe piece for his shoes or his boots. I mean, I guess they aren't really shoes since he's a robot. These probably are just straight up his feet, and then we just have some little half-thickness lift arms on the side. I like these little bits kind of work as like little heel pieces. These really remind me of movie Transformer feet, the way the little toe piece and kind of the wide heel pieces looks, and the general kind of shape of them. Like if you look at like Bumblebee and Skids and Mudflap from Revenge of the Fallen, like if you look at their foot design, like that's totally what this makes me think of, just like the general look of it, and I think that's pretty neat. The lower legs are another section of the MOC that I'm pretty proud of in general. I think these are some really nice looking legs. Let me just kind of get his arms a little bit more out of the way. As you can see, pretty nice looking. I love these helmets from the Caxium, the motorcycle for the Glatorian. That is just a great look. Since this is one of like the few helmet pieces that I actually have two of, I've totally been wanting to use these pieces forever for armor on a MOC. Like, I think I've tried doing it before, but it's never worked how I imagined it. But now it really, I mean, this just looks great. They fit on there like they were made for it. And if I just take one of them off, you can get a little bit of a better look at the internal workings. You can kind of see how that's done. Hand connector, a couple of these pieces, and then a little Technic piece attaching to the ball joint. And we do have a little tube threaded through there, and then there's a little too long, thin lift arm. There we go. They are all back together, and here's a little look at the back. You can see where the tubes connect up. I really like the use of tubes or hoses or whatever you want to call them, and they're just, I mean, so often they seem like that kind of piece that can just be used so untastefully. Like, you can use them tastefully, or they can just look like a really lazy greeble. And I feel like for this MOC specifically, they actually work really well, and that might be one of my proudest achievements on this guy, is using the ribbed hoses really well and actually getting them to look good and not just clunky and like I was trying to add detail. Like, granted, that is what they're for detail, but they work, they aren't distracting. Sometimes they can just be that type of greeble that doesn't even really fit with the textures of the MOC or the theme of the MOC. Here, though, I think they work exceedingly well. The upper legs are the first main part of the MOC I'd like to talk about when it comes to changes from the first version to this one. So, they've hardly changed at all. They are still plain CCBS, just a bone and a shell. Dark tan, that's pretty nifty, but at the end of the day, that is all they are. But there is one thing that I changed, and that was the addition of the tubes. Now, I was apprehensive at doing this at first, because, like I mentioned just earlier, tubes can often look really untasteful and just really clunky, and straight up threading them through and around a plain CCBS bone to try and hide that it's a plain CCBS bone seems a little bit like just a cheap technique, a lazy technique, but I think they work pretty well. I think in general just this little bit of detail added to them really helps, because one of my least favorite parts of the original version is that they were just plain CCBS, because even though I normally don't have a problem with that and I am totally an advocate of using CCBS and non-custom designs when they actually work well, but for this type of MOC, with this type of detail, it just didn't make sense, and it was just inconsistent with the rest of the MOC. Now, the part about these tubes on the upper legs that I really like are these bits, where they hook into the lower back. It looks so cool. It looks like they're like hydraulics on the hips, like maybe they're for support, maybe they're pumping some sort of like energizing fluid into his leg. The torso is possibly my favorite part of the MOC, because it's something I don't often do, and that is, it's risky. It's not a design that, it's hard to describe, because on the one hand, like, it's not straight up a design that I wasn't confident in, but it also wasn't one that I was. It was one of those designs where I knew that people would either love it or people would hate it, you know? It's like it works or it doesn't, and I wasn't sure which way it was gonna go. Now, before we go any further, I'm gonna remove these arms, because let me tell you, they're gonna get annoying as heck. And yeah, okay, yep, sure. There we are. Took off the head too. Just really want to have this section be easy to get to work. Anyway, so basically the main, again, kind of almost risky part of the torso is the cube and the square theme of it. As a whole, this torso is kind of cubic or cuboid, and you know, it's very square. I mean, you have a few non-square lines, like these little slope bits in there do make it look a little bit more kind of slanted and diagonal in those little spots, but for the most part, it's very square and very compact, and I really like the compact Technic look of it. It just looks really solid. But because it was a cube, and I didn't know what to do with the chest design, I thought I would just do something really kind of heavy-handed to emphasize the fact that it was kind of a cube-looking thing, and I put a just 2x2 smooth tile on there, and you know what? People seem to like this torso. I posted just a straight-up picture of just it when I first finished building it, and I really think it worked out for the better, even though I was a little nervous about it, because people could have either said, oh, that's really fun, or you literally just put a tile on the chest and called it good. Seriously? Like, you know, I didn't know what people were gonna think. In general, you know, like, these little 2x2 jumper plates with the little, you know, grate vent type piece on them look really good, and the tubes around the middle are a bit of a homage to the original version, and we'll just talk about that right now. The ribbed hose abdomen. The original version of this MOC, the abdomen was grossly elongated, and it was just tubes wrapped around it, or hoses, and it wasn't even these ones, it was the thick ones, where you can frickin' stick a pin in them, or stick an axle through them, like that shit. And, oh my God, it looked so... It's one of those things where, like, in concept, it seems like such a fun idea, and then in practice, it's like, wow, does not work. He just works better like this. The more compact look really complements him more than I would have originally thought. Now, for anybody curious about the design, I feel like sometimes in these reviews I just talk and I don't really show things like I should be, so I'm not sure how much this will really reveal for people wanting to build this, but if I take off that, I can actually just lift this up, and you can kind of get a slightly better idea of how that's done. Kinda, sorta, not really. I mean, these bits, the Hordika necks are kind of attached to this Technic piece with an axle going through, and then I guess there's some stuff attached to that attaches to more stuff that attaches to lower stuff that attaches to ball joints for the legs. Yeah, I guess that didn't really help, but still, a little bit of internal workings for y'all. So the arms. Like the ribbed hose abdomen, they were originally something that sounded really fun in my head and ended up not looking that great. And the original design was, of course, just the hydraulic piston pieces for support on the legs of Titan sets. You all know what I'm talking about there. And, they were so friggin' long, and they were so bad looking. I mean, I love the idea of the skinny little robot arms. I think they look really cool. They really complement the look of the MOC. And even though they aren't something I'm particularly proud of, I think they are one of the funnest, probably most memorable features of this guy. But when it comes to just using just big, pre-made pieces for them, it just didn't work. They looked too like I gave up. You know, even though I made custom arms rather than just using CCBS like I often do for arms, they still looked a little lackluster compared to the rest of the MOC. And let me just stick his head back on, as long as I put his arms back on. But these new arms, I think, look really nice. I think just, you know, we have the hinge for the elbow, which is fun. It kind of limits articulation, but not too bad. And just the different kinds of little gears and things on here, I think all work really well. And I like that he has brown hands now. His original hands were just silver CCBS fists. And my gosh, the moving fingers are so much better. And, I mean, they just look way better for this guy. Again, the CCBS fists were yet another part that was kind of just too simple for his look. Just didn't match the textures of, like, the lower legs and the body. And, I also like that they're brown because it kind of makes the color distribution a little less wonky. In general, this MOC's color distribution is not the best, especially with the dark tan, unfortunately, but at least now the brown is a bit more even. So, regarding the smokestacks, I think they're really fun. I especially love this frickin' wonky-looking one that's bent. Like, how does that even work? Was it designed that way? Was it broken at some point? You know, it's just goofy looking. Someone in the comments says that these look like bagpipes, and that really cracks me up. I totally can't unsee it now, too. I like that there's just, you can hardly even see it, but there's just a little 1x1 smooth tile on the top of the tallest one, which kind of looks like a little chimney cap, and I think that's really fun. In general, this is the most delicate part of the MOC. It's not even as extravagant as I wanted it to be. I would love there to be a lot more stuff going on. I think, in general, I mean, there's only 6 smokestacks if you count this teeny little one here that's literally just a lightsaber handle plugged into the hand connector there. But, you know, it'd be cool to see a little bit more stuff, especially, like, down by the base of them is pretty gappy in there. It's just kind of open. So, finally, let's get into the head. I frickin' love this guy's head design, man. That just looks great. That head just has so much character to it. I so don't like doing custom heads, because usually when I do them, they have no character. That's the problem. They just look soulless, like just a piece stuck on the neck. And I think that's a problem a lot of people tend to have with head designs. It's really hard to make good custom heads. But my goodness, I'm so proud of this one. It's really, really simple. Like, compared to what you might see like Elira or especially Shadow Gear making with little system parts, like this is nothing. But you can pretty much see how that's done. In fact, let me take off the top of it too. It's just a hand connector on the bottom with one of the little 2 long lift arms with the axle hole running that way and then the pinhole running the other way. And I put a little, you know, 1x1 plate, and then take your 1x2 plate, which this one has a little hinge on it, which just kind of adds to some detail, and then stud for the eye, and stick that on there. Boop. And then a couple little Technic bricks with the axle hole through them. In fact, the back one doesn't even need to have the axle hole, that's just what I had on hand. And then you can do various hair pieces for what you prefer. I went with the little vent there. I think it's fun because it's cockeyed. It looks like he has like funny like Elvis hair almost, and I think it's just, again, adds to the goofy, the funny factor. It just looks great. So, just to conclude this video, I'm really happy with this guy. He's way more greebly and detailed than what I normally build, but I think it really worked out well. There's so much character to this MOC. He doesn't just look like your average humanoid Bionicle Technic type build. He really is quite unique, and he's one of those MOCs that even if he's not the most impressive thing to someone looking at him, he's not going to be a MOC you just forget, you know? I think he has a lot of unique features to him, and honestly, that's just something that I'm really proud of and that I really want to strive to do more with my MOCs. So, there's not much else to say, so let's just get to the end here. As always, here we have Gresh and some minifigures for a size comparison. That is Phil, my name is The Watching Relic, and I will see you all next time.